With nearly 3 years after the death of Abree Boykin, her case finally comes to an end because a Savannah man who admitted to killing the wife of a deployed U.S. Army soldier on post at Fort Stewart has been sentenced to 58 years in federal prison. Now, Stafon Jamar Davis, who ages 28, was sentenced to 700 months in prison by the U.S. District Court Judge R. Stan Baker after pleading guilty to premeditated murder and possession of a firearm, said David H. Estes, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Georgia. After completing his prison term, Davis will be required to serve 5 years of supervised release. There is no parole in the federal system. Now, Abree Boykin, whose age was 24 at the time, was a resident of post housing at Fort Stewart Army Reservation, married to Sergeant Sean Boykin, a member of the U.S. Army who was assigned to Fort Stewart 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team, 3rd Infantry Division. At the time of the murder, Sergeant Boykin was deployed in South Korea. Now, Davis, who had known Abree Boykin since childhood, was a fugitive from federal supervised release after having served a nearly 8-year federal prison sentence for armed robbery. Now, in pleading guilty to the murder, Davis admitted to shooting and killing Abree Boykin as she slept in her post residence in the early morning hours of July the 9th, 2018. Now, Davis then fled Fort Stewart in her vehicle. He gave the murder weapon to an acquaintance who later sold it and engaged the assistance of an accomplice to burn the vehicle in a remote area outside of Hardeeville, South Carolina. Now, 2 other defendants are also implicated in the case. Jenard Patilla, who ages 36, of Savannah, was found in possession of a murder weapon, a 9mm Taurus PT-111 semi-automatic handgun, and was charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced May the 28th, 2020 to 45 months in federal prison in order to serve 3 years of supervised release. Also, another person that was arrested and charged was Devin Ryan, who age was 30, of Hardeeville, South Carolina. He awaits sentencing after pleading guilty to use of fire in commission of federal felony. Ryan, who met Davis while the two were in a halfway house serving federal supervised release, admitting helping Davis destroy Abree Boykin's 2018 Honda Accord by dousing the interior with gasoline and setting it on fire. So yeah, that seems like that's the end of the case, but I just want to say this, reading that story for myself, it is missing one thing, and a lot of people I see online are complaining about the journalistic story of the people that made the story, and they're complaining about the motive. On different websites, and of course I do my research, and honestly, when I cover news and homicides, even when I talk about the homicides in my videos, motives aren't really ever discussed or even figured out, maybe until sometimes a year or 2 years after the fact. And sometimes that knowledge is passed on to the streets. So as far as the motive, it doesn't say his motive, besides the fact that he known Abree Boykin since childhood, which, okay, that means one thing, but what was the motive of him being out there and actually finding where she stayed at, Now, I know what you guys thinking. Well, it could have been sex related. She was cheating on her man. Listen, let's not assume that, If I had evidence that could point me in that direction, yeah, I would say that. But I wouldn't dare to say that because, it's really misleading, for one, without any evidence. And for two, it's hurtful to the family that got to listen to it for me to assume that something else happened. So let's not jump to that conclusion. But I will say, reading the multiple news articles, I don't really hear a motive behind what Mr. Davis was out there to do. I know he killed her, but it still doesn't establish a motive. Was he doing it for just to get some of her property, or it's not definitely explained at all. But what is explained is that he will be in jail more than likely for the rest of his life. He probably will die in jail. So that's the update. So take care of yourself and stay blessed.